In that pretext, I would like to now start with the first session, which talks about what are the technological interventions which are happening in schools to get result-oriented outcomes. For the session, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Arnav Singh, Director, Nehru World School, Ghaziabad. So please join us on stage. He would be moderating the first session. Dr. Abha Bharat Shah, Principal, Rameshwar International Academy, Lucknow. Ms. Hema Kalakoti, Principal, APS Academy. And Mr. Omar Mustafa, Director, Faizabad Public School, Faizabad. I request Mr. Arnav Singh to take over this session, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Talking about smart cities and talking in Lucknow, the capital of the state, is, I think, just the right thing to do. I noticed Mr. Jagdish Gandhi just walk in. Good morning, sir. Pleasure and privilege to be addressing the audience with you seated. So, Seema just talked about data. She talked about smart cities. And I thought it probably would be a good idea to throw some more data on what is really the scope of education in our state. So I had pulled out actually some data from the government of UP, different websites, to figure that just the government machinery has allocated 24,565 crore rupees for just education for just 2016 and 17. And considering that 40% of the students go to private schools, you add another probably 16,000 crores to it. We're talking about 40,000 crore rupees in UP alone going into education. That's a huge investment. What do we do with that investment is a question that we need to ask ourselves, and I'm hoping that I'd pose some interesting questions to our panelists today. I also found out that the UP government has distributed 14,35,315 laptops till now to students. This does not include the laptops they plan to give out this year. So they are actually enabling students. So at least the device is there, and we can now start looking at what do we do with that device. So in terms of just the government, the message seems to be quite clear. In terms of the recruitment that they're doing in the school setups, the Shiksha Mitra that are going and becoming assistant teachers, that they are quite clear that education quality needs to improve. And as representatives of the private schools, we need to ask ourselves this question of what do we do with the students that we have in our schools with our limitations. I have three very interesting panelists today. And I say interesting because they come in to the discussion with their very unique skill sets. I would first introduce Dr. Abha Bharat Shah. She's currently the principal for Rameshwaram International Academy in Lucknow. She's been in the education sector now for 27 years and has been a school principal for the last 17. She's had experience in teaching, training, research, project management, and has conducted training workshops for teachers. She's also been a part of the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. She's had various training programs for trained and untrained teachers in both the government and the private school sector across the country, and even within that span she has worked with schools in the rural areas and in the urban areas. I'm hoping that she would have a lot to say about the training needs that we have, especially when we talk about technological advances. Welcome to the session, ma'am. Thank you for coming today. I also have here Ms. Hema Kalakoti, the principal of APS Academy, Lucknow. Ma'am has been in a leadership position in her school since 1998. She's led it through a technological shift. She's got over 25 years of experience in education, and alongside being a school leader, She is also a teacher trainer and has also in her capacity contributed to the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. Thank you very much for being a part of this session today. We have Mr. Umar Mustafa, Director of Faizabad Public School, Faizabad. Sir, is that generation or type of school management where the right kind of education is in place, a skill set is in place, and this generation is now adding to education? He's an engineer and an MBA in marketing and operations. He's also fondly called the Google man in his school. He's worked with Tata Consultancy Services earlier and is now the director for Faizabad Public School. His passion is helping young students discover their career dreams via interactions, personality development, filling them with enthusiasm and letting them see the world beyond school boundaries. So thank you very much for adding this new dimension to this panel. I was introduced as Arnav Singh. I work as a director at Nehru World School in Ghaziabad. I will try to keep my opinions to myself, for my role today is to moderate the panel. But being an educator, I will find it slightly difficult. So if I sway and put in some views of my own, they would totally be mine and not Elets. With that, I'd go back and begin today's session. Hope it's enriching. We would also try and come to the audience with questions and possibly some responses. While the question is being answered on the stage, if somebody in the audience believes that they've got something burning to add to that question, you can raise your hand, we can pass a mic. I have to make this one very sincere request. If all of us can keep our responses sort of brief, because I've been part of panel discussions where my chance never came. So I don't want to do that. So if we can keep our responses brief, all of us would probably have something to say and learn from it. Thank you very much for being here today morning. So the first question that I'm going to ask is going to go to the youngest professional on the stage. So I'm going to put you in the deep end. And your question is more difficult than what we would expect from school principal who's been a teacher and then a principal. I want to ask you about machine learning. Again, taking the cue from what Seema was talking about, where she said a lot about data analytics. The first strand or difficulty was to get in the data. Now that we already have, most schools have ERPs and there is a lot of data happening. How can we use that data to lead learning, and how do we use machine learning to actually improve our students' learning outcomes?
First of all, good morning, everyone. Good morning who are present here. And I myself, Umar Mustafa, I left TCS job just only for the sake of providing my skills to the school, to the education sector. And मैं जब यहाँ पे मैं अपने स्कूल आया, फैजाबाद पब्लिक स्कूल, which is the name of my school, मैं अपने स्कूल आया, then I have seen, मतलब अभी भी they are following traditional learning over there. So it's not a bad thing. Traditional learning is very required, still now required for the schools and colleges. But the thing is that smart learning, whatever he's telling is that about the machine. Whatever I have learned from TCS is that machine is helping to reduce the time, and to collect the data. That is the foremost important use of the machine. So मैंने जो whatever I have learned from TCS is that it is reducing the time first of all, and we can easily collect the data. तो जब मैं यहाँ पे अपने स्कूल आया तो मैंने देखा we are working on a register paper and all that things. We are still working on giving assignments through papers only, through distribution of the papers only. So I have noticed one thing, it is taking much more time. It is taking and इससे क्या हो रहा था, मतलब बच्चों को बहुत ज़्यादा इससे वो भी नहीं मिल रहा था, like they cannot get more from the papers and all that thing only. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो कंप्यूटर थिंग है, मशीन थिंग है, उसको इंट्रोड्यूस किया थ्रू स्मार्ट लर्निंग, थ्रू स्मार्ट क्लासेस. स्मार्ट क्लासेस में जैसे कि मैंने जब इंट्रोड्यूस किया स्मार्ट क्लासेस इन माय स्कूल लाइक 2 years पहले, इससे पहले मेरे पास नहीं था, लाइक और स्कूल्स तो फॉलो कर रहे होंगे इसको अराउंड 5 years 10 years एंड मोर देन दैट. लेकिन जो मैंने शुरू किया लाइक इट वाज 2 ईयर पहले ही शुरू किया। तो मैंने एक चीज़ सीखी उससे, student can do brainstorming session from that, like how if we can provide the pictures of the situations like poverty and all that thing, they can brainstorm about it, they can talk about it and have a discussion among themselves. So इससे क्या हो रहा है, they can do brainstorming through smart classes. They can learn much more than doing some paperwork. Like if teacher are telling them, then have do some discussion about this thing, write on the paper and all that thing. But from that smart classes and all, they can do brainstorming from themselves, and there are many sites over there which I have learned and which I emphasize my students to learn from there, like refdesk.com, khanacademy.com. From there they can learn many things. Like from earlier they can only be able to learn from their textbooks and all that thing. But जब से ये सब आया है, टेक्नोलॉजिकल इंटरवेंशन आया है हमारे स्कूल में, तब से they are learning much more than they are learning before. So things are changing a bit. Not like we can't totally interchange those traditional learning to this learning, but things are getting changed drastically.
So a yes or no question. Do you think technology will ever replace teachers?
Partially it will replace, but not completely. Because traditional learning is very much important, as well as with the integrated technological intervention. It's not like that. Like if you are providing, see, if we are going to some place, some outer place like UK, US, we need a guide. If whatever we can do research from the internet, but we need a guide over there. Like वो हमें ले जाकर हमें दिखाएगा that this is the place, this is the place. You can click the picture over here, whatever the thing is that. So we need a guide for it, and for that purpose, traditional learning is required with integrated technological skills. जैसे कि आज भी स्मार्ट क्लासेस जो we are using it, whatever the math assignments देते हैं हम लोग, like CBSE ने अभी लॉन्च किया OLAPs and all that thing. तो OLAPs क्या है, ऑनलाइन लैब्स है. तो इसका जो ट्रेडिशनल वे है, पहले तो वी शुड गिव देम एक हम लोग उनको पहले वी कैन डू द प्रैक्टिकल थिंग्स in a physical manner, then we can show them to the through the smart classes. So this is the thing, we need traditional learning along with this thing, smart classes and all that thing.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
So Omar talks about how technology needs to come in, and as soon as you talk about technology coming in, you're now needing to retrain your teachers because they have been used to delivering education in a particular manner. They are quite comfortable with that chalkboard. Also, the chalkboard it never fails. You have a chalk, and there is a board, it will work. But when you're working with technology, that is not always going to happen. And when it is not going to work, then children will laugh. And when children will laugh, my confidence is going to get shaken. So teachers have been, sort of apprehensive on taking on technology. You worked a major portion of your career life in training of teachers. So the question that I would like to pose to you is, first question is, what do you think are the real challenges? Why do you think people resist technology intervention in the school? And how have you been able to overcome that?
Thank you. First of all, good morning to all of you. Before coming to the answer to your question, I would just like to throw a light over this topic also, that technological interventions in the school for the better results. When we talk about technological interventions, that doesn't mean only the interventions related to the students. Technological interventions in bringing the results better, results not only the academic, work culture results also, and bringing the people aware Technological interventions are required right from your, as you said, ERPs most of the schools are using. But is those ERPs actually used, and data analysis is being done by the schools? We are just messaging it to the parents, using only for the messages, or doing actual work on it. So technology we use even for controlling a transport system also, messaging the parents that bus is late or bus will be arriving at this particular point. So like this, your communications become better, and people, the schools are the service providers. So they are able, the parents are at ease, one thing. Another thing, attendance, digitalizing the library, smart classes, of course, computer labs, of course, but not only this. You see, when the children are having this a thing in mind that our parents will be well communicated by the schools, time to time, they are also little alert and focusing on the studies, one thing. Another thing, parents, when are through the technology, use of the technology, now we are talking about the digital lockers, where the mark sheets and all will be saved there, and the child can access to it at any point of time. So technological interventions are making the life easier, one thing, but as Omar said, teachers partially will be replaced. I feel no, teachers cannot be replaced. Teachers' role will be changed. Earlier, in the traditional classroom, the teacher was a teacher, filling up the knowledge to the child's mind. Now, with the use of technology, the teacher is becoming coordinator, teacher is becoming motivator, teacher is becoming facilitator. The teacher will have to access the technology, and that's what I'm coming. So now Umar is insisting that I should come quickly to the point, so I will be coming. Now when I am taking the training classes, training, as you know, one day training or 2-day training. The training, when the teachers come, they come with a set mind. Oh, one day it's a punishment right from morning 9 o'clock to evening 5 p.m. Then when we talk about the technological interventions also, how you can facilitate the students. The teacher says that we don't know the use of computers. Now it is reducing, day by day it is reducing. Earlier when I started way back in 2005, my first workshop I took in 2005, the teachers were with apprehensions, no, madam, उम्र तो निकल गई है हमारी, अब क्या कंप्यूटर सीखना है, या अब क्यों स्मार्ट क्लास के लिए हमको जाना है, हम जो पढ़ा रहे हैं बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ा रहे हैं. But slowly the teachers are also changing. Now that when we meet the teachers in training workshops, they are better techno-savvy. They know how to Google the things, because the children are becoming smart. So they are, and they can use, here in the workshops we tell the teachers that how you can use the technology in giving them the assignments, in guiding them what to do and what not to do. And specifically one thing I tell them, that you see, you have one problem, that the children are on Facebook and WhatsApp discussing many things. You can change their discussion. Be with them there, give some assignments to them and tell, search this. They will start searching that thing and then they will be reporting you on WhatsApp, reporting you on email or Facebook. Ma'am, I have searched this thing. Is it correct? I have collected this data. Is it correct? And your communication will increase with the students. Firstly, in starting years, there was apprehension in the teachers why to communicate on WhatsApp or Facebook to the students. But now I find teachers are there, they have the class WhatsApp groups, they have the school WhatsApp groups, and they are communicating with the students, guiding it. So technological intervention in good hands, in right hands, is always boon for the students. It always give the better results, motivates the students, and instill even, because when the communication is too much with the teachers, the children become attached to the teachers also, and they play a role of guide. They become a guide, they become a mentor to the child in spite of the teacher. And when the role changes, automatically the things changes, learning atmosphere changes, and the children becomes more confident.
Thank you, ma'am. While you covered a lot of areas around technology, what I sort of got from this was everybody needs to learn, and 1 and 2 day workshops are not going to do it. It has to be a sustained effort over time, and a lot of feedback sessions and mentoring and support needs to happen. A school principal had shared this very simple thing with me. They said in classes where they have smart boards, they have made smart board assistants. So actually the students set up the boards for the teacher. So the teacher is not needing to struggle in front of children, which I thought was a simple but quite an effective move. I move to Ms. Hema Kalakoti. Your brief says that you've led your school through a technological shift. And I was speaking to her before the session, and I figured, ma'am represents majority of the private schools in cities where they are in the process of going non-tech to tech, and smart boards have come in, certain other data analytics have come in, and she has been in the same school since 1998. So you've actually seen your school go through 2 generations of shift. Ma'am, of all the interventions that would have happened in your school, what would be that one initiative that you would say, this since 1998 was the one best thing that we did at school?
Hello, good morning everyone. The best one thing, if you ask me, in 2005 when I first started with one smart class, we were having this computer labs, and the smart class was then in the market, and we started with one classroom. Then after that we increased the classes. Now I am having almost 15-16 classes, those in which we are using these tools and techniques, ICT. And this was, as you said, I have been with this school since 98, and when we were not using much of this technology for teaching and learning, in teaching and learning process. And then after that, same with me also, there were so many challenges. First was the use of that technology, where we needed training of the teachers, and then first was that, and then we had this computer teacher who was helping around. Then in the initial years when the smart classes started, the company also used to provide trainings that how to use and tackle those techniques and technology. So initially we faced problem, but later on, and I remember first the classroom which I used was from Access, and they were having every content, and it was they were giving us that help also, where in private schools, up to 8 we use so many publishers books, so they helped us to match with that content also. So this was because teachers had this question, we will be having test books of a different publication, and the contents will be from other other company. So how we are going to match it, how it is going to help us in the learning process. So for that we asked the company, and this was the first company I remember, because Educom was also there in the market, but this company, they were cheaper, and they said they will be helping us with this data of the books which we were using. So that was one thing. Then as it was only one class, so we had changed the timetable. Once in a week at least our one class should go there and learn the things. Then there was a change. The students in traditional format, they are little bit bored. They are not so much enthusiastic. So in this ICT classes, we found that with visualizations, there were more learning happening. There was critical and creative thinking was increasing. So and now as we are using it regularly, so we give so many projects to students, where we see the students are using more of this technology. And in traditional method, what happens in the teachers are limited, they have a limited time. After school, there are very few teachers who give time to students for their queries and all, and this particular technology is helping the students to access after school also. And through this ICT use, they can have their own their knowledge. And one thing more I would like to add, there are some students who are very shy, they are not very interactive, and they feel very difficult to interact with the teacher. So with the help of these technology, they can access without that fear. They have their own independency to access the things. They have more data, or they can Google is one of the app where they are able to have all the e-libraries and learnings. So this is one drastic change which I saw in my students, was that they were more creative, and the learning were more faster, and yes, they are happy also. And every time the teacher, even after the use of this technology, the teacher is also improving. There were teachers who hardly go to libraries. As we know, in this profession, every time we need to be updated, and we have to be more to books and all. But there are teachers, they don't get time to go to libraries and consult the books, or they don't have the knowledge to which book they should consult. But with these applications, with these ICT use, with this new technology, they are now much more aware and much more smarter, and they have anytime while traveling, while sitting somewhere, with few minutes also, within few minutes they can have these extra knowledge of the things. So I feel that students and both teachers, the learner and the teacher, both are now smarter, and they can have more knowledge, and they can use that application anywhere. And as we are having smartphones nowadays, so smartphones also will help this learning.
Thank you very much, ma'am. While she was explaining how these smart classes have actually helped her students and the visual learning has come in. So from you tell, I forget, you show, I remember, and she also talked about how projects have improved and children are doing deeper level of thinking. Ma'am, another question that stems, and I'm actually going to come to Omar for this question. When we went to school, the difference between the brightest child and the not so bright child of the class was the brightest one had read the textbook before. He had the understanding of what the teacher was going to teach, and the not so bright had not done so. Now, when this teacher goes into the classroom, there are some children who've gone on the internet who sometimes know more about that particular subtopic than the teacher does. And because of this technology, they now also put certain questions to the teacher to which she doesn't have an answer to. As a young educator, what would be your word of advice for people when they would be caught with this kind of a situation only because technology is there to support it?
As we all know, this is an era of internet. This is an era of the smartphone and all that thing. Smart things, era of smart things. So if somebody, like if students are getting more smarter, as you said, students are getting more smarter than a few teachers. Like they can get through, they can fetch the information from the internet easily. They can get the information from the Google, from Khan Academy, and whatever the site is. They can fetch the information from there. So the teacher, whatever you are saying, that teacher, if he get caught in this situation, what he will do? Nothing, just nothing. Just take them if they are teaching in the class. If they ask, they raise their hand and they ask, sir, what is the meaning of this thing? What is this thing? And might be the teacher wouldn't know about it. So he can ask him to wait for some time, or he can just take a tab. Few schools are offering tabs also, internet also. There are Wi-Fi campuses and all that thing. They can check it out there only, or they can take to their smart classes, and they can take to them smart classes, smart classrooms, and they can give them the exact knowledge, whatever the things he is asking for. He can show it through the internet. He can show it through the slides also. PowerPoint presentation are also there. Word processing are also there. He can show more of it. Like it is not the way that if he doesn't know, if he or she doesn't know about it, then कोई दिक्कत नहीं होनी है. Because everything is there in the internet. Everything is presented over there. So they have to just bring the students to that platform and just let them. सब स्टूडेंट्स को बताइए कि this is the meaning of this thing. This is the thing which you are asking for.
So if I understand this correctly, what you're saying is, A, you're agreeing that this is going to happen, where children will know more about a particular subtopic than sometimes teacher does.
Yes.
And when it happens, teacher needs to say, fine, I don't know this.
Calm.
I don't know this.
Yeah.
Acceptance is quite important.
Exactly.
And to then come back and say, let us together find it out.
Exactly.
So there is input coming from that table, and we'll take can we have a floating mic? Go to the table, please. So the teacher from the center of learning needs to go to facilitator of learning and needs to co-create that learning experience in the classroom.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would just like to intervene as what you said, that if the teacher doesn't know the answer, the teacher will say, okay, fine, I don't know the answer, and I walk out. But first, I would request that we need to tell the teachers they need to be well prepared. Second, if we don't know the answers, because this question have already cropped up in my training sessions, and I always say, we should always appreciate the fact that a child is asking you a question first. Second, we need to say, all right, I'll get back to this later. Let's complete what we are discussing right now. But if you say an absolute no that you don't know, then the child will lose confidence in you. Because the child really looks up to the teacher, and this we just can't let it go. That's from my end.
That is what I am also saying, that please camera is taking some time. I'll give you the reply. So, just as you were sharing this, I got reminded of this conversation I was having with a third grader. And I asked him, what are you studying in this school? And he says, I'm studying states of matter. So I asked him, so how many states are there? And he said 4. I said, okay, this is higher order. So I said, no, but aren't they just, liquid, gaseous and solid? He says, yeah, sir, they are there, but there is also plasma state of matter. So that third grader is talking plasma to me, which is obviously not part of his curriculum, and he totally had me stumped. So since then, I have been quite cautious of even the third grader or a second grader. Ma'am, I'm quickly going to come to you for this one last question from the panel, because I can see we are going to run out of time very soon. We are in a shift generation from no tech. Teachers who are there in the classroom did not have tech in their classrooms. They did not do computers. They probably did not do computers even in their degree. They are now needing to use computers, and these children who are coming to their classrooms have probably understood how to swipe on the smartphone before they have learned how to write A. So the generation in the classroom is very different to the generation in front of the board. So technology is a reality for this young generation that's in the classroom. Do you, as a teacher, educator and a school leader, think there could be a psychological impact in the long run for this generation? Should we be looking at some safeguards? Can we actually have any safeguards?
Yes, psychological effects are there. Too much going through all these things, we can see that if the child is there at the WhatsApp or Facebook too much. In the internet, while searching on search engines, there are certain things which are popping up, which are giving extra information, as you accepted that a third grader is talking about the state of matter, plasma as a state of matter. So this extra information first prematures the child. Maturity level is coming too early among the students. 2, then wrong side, because if there is not a correct guide telling them the good, what to read, what not to read, or if they have read that thing, how to neutralize that impacts a lot on child. Juvenile crime जो हम जितना भी देखते हैं, that is a result of this only. And the type of the talks the students sometimes does, that is also a result of this only. Now the checks. Checks are the very simple checks. That we have to be alert, and we have to see, as a parent, as a teacher, both, that what child is accessing. One thing. Another thing, neutralize the extra information. Thirdly, guide them to the right direction. Be with them. That's what I said earlier also. If they are in WhatsApp, even if they are in Facebook, you be a part of that. You speak to them. So your role now is also shifting from the teacher to the mentor. One thing. Another thing, it is correct that the teachers are less techno-savvy. I will not say no to techno-savvy. Now we are not having such teachers who are not techno-savvy. They may be less techno-savvy, and the children may be more techno-savvy. So they have to learn it, and they have to be there. Even if they have to learn it from the students or you see, sometimes the students also are very happy. Oh, my teacher is trying to learn this thing from me. Unhe maine sikhaya. Or the child is, my mother learned. I myself have learned how to prepare PPTs from my son. Sometimes I stuck up somewhere, I just ring up to my son, what to do? He tells it from there, and I am swiftly moving through, and I learn the things. So the thing is, We must learn, we must technology, what we are making, our generation, अरे बहुत कौन इतने पचड़े में पड़े, चल रहा है. So that is why to learn. Our age has gone. We have calmly and quietly lived our life. Now let it be the youngster do. So this thought process has to be changed, and the moment we also become techno savvy, we are able to talk on same ground, parallel ground with the children. And until and unless we are talking to them on parallel ground, we are not able to communicate with them, and we are not able to understand their problem, and they are not going to understand our reasons why we are telling this. So this has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And with your answer, we are coming to a close of today's session. And I try and wrap up quickly and summarize what we've talked about. While Omar had made a point of machine learning is here to stay, and we need to incorporate it in our school systems. And you believe that this is something which is true for almost all schools. The way the UP government has been spending towards technology enablement, be it Wi-Fiing their schools and networks or equipping students with devices so that they can actually get onto this technology bandwagon and develop those skills, or at a national level what NSDC is doing with skilling people on technology is possibly a strand in that direction. Abha ma'am, you had talked about technology is not just in pedagogy, but we are also talking about e-governance in schools. And with this e-governance, the next step would be e-forecasting. Because I now have data from last year, I can use that data to forecast what I'm going to be doing with my time and my resources in the next academic year. While Hima ma'am, she mentioned the strong use of smart class and emphasized on training, and how the smart classes has actually moved the pen and paper to a more visual source. And the next obvious step has to be for our children to actually start doing these things and make projects around that theme so that their skills develop. So we are moving into a world where skills are going to be more important than just knowledge, because knowledge is becoming omnipresent. We currently have it on our mobile phone, but that child who's in nursery class right now, who has about 2 decades of education left on him before he goes to industry, would probably need more skills than just data, because data is going to be freely floating around. I would end this with just 2 thoughts that come to me. One would be, maybe technology is not going to replace teachers, but teachers who use technology will replace those teachers who don't. That is possibly something that we are going to see in the next 10 to 15 years of time span. So teachers who use technology may replace teachers who don't. And we as educators in different generations of educators, we really don't have an option of saying, I am going to shut myself, I am not going to go on the technology train. If we do that, we have a chance of becoming dinosaurs. So God, give me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, for we have our limitations. All of us have limitations. God, give me the strength to accept the things I can't change. God, give me the courage to change the things I can, because I do have some scope of influence. God, give me the courage to change the things I can. And above all, God, give me the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you very much for listening to us today. I hope the session was enriching for everybody present, and I hope to learn more from you as the day progresses. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Elets.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arnav Singh. Mr. Arnav is a director with Nehru World School, who himself is quite enthusiastic educational entrepreneur with interest in educational technology. I've personally visited his school with a lot of new interventions that is made. He is into teacher training, leadership trainings, and teacher enablement. He regularly holds workshops across, and we are thankful for you having moderated the session for us. I would like to invite Mr. Arpit on stage. As a thank you for having joined us, we would like to give our moderator and the people on the panel a small token of appreciation in the form of speaker mementos.
Thank you, Seema. And for giving speaker mementos to all the esteemed panelists, I would request Shri K. Ravindra Nayak and Dr. C.S. Kumar, Transport Commissioner UP and Transport Commissioner Odisha, both to give speaker mementos to esteemed panelists on the dais. Welcome them with a round of applause. And I'll request all of you to please have a group photograph. Requesting sir, please join for a group photograph. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was a very interactive, very meaningful session for education leaders and people from education fraternity.